We are going to do the if and, if or, and nested if. Okay, single if we have already seen it. So now how we are going to do it? See this. So I will write here something called let's say marks. Okay, and I will write here something maybe transaction. Now what we are supposed to do, now this is your transaction and the marks. You want to put here remarks that if the transaction is not blank and the number is greater than 50, then we should see here, let's say value maybe something valid, otherwise not valid. So how will we do it? Two things. First, you have two criterias. So you will use the if and. If and we use for the multiple criterias. All the criterias are supposed to be true. Second, obviously we have to run the loop, right? So we have to run the loop, and inside the loop then we will write this if and condition. So let's go and start this. So let me make this font little thicker. Okay, let's go to the developer tab. I click on the Visual Basic. Let me insert the module, and this is where we will write. So press F4, give it a name which is discussion complete if. Okay, now write here sub if and plus loop. So we have to run the loop, guys. How many times we need to run the loop? Dim, let's say j as long for j equals to 2 to 6, right? Now if you have a question in your mind that can we also start from 2? Of course you can. So we can start from 2 also. So the loop will start from 2 and it will stop at 6. Your choice. You can start from 10 to 20 also. Why I'm starting, by the way, from 2? Because I don't need the header. So I'll write here if cells. I'm not using range command. This time let's use the cells command. The row number 2 and the column number 1. The value in that cell, if it is greater than, let's say we want to say 30, and this is how you use the and. Now put the second criteria. Second criteria is what? The value in the same row but the column number 2, which is B2. If that is not equals to blank, then what should happen? So if both the criteria are going to satisfy, then what you want to do? Then you want to go to the cell on the same row number but the column number 3, you want to print valid. Else I copy the same code and I say else it has to be invalid. And finally here we will write and if. You know guys, this is how it is. So what is special in this case? Just the and. You use the and. I hope you know that in the if and when you write, even in the front part of the Excel, when you write and means both the criteria are supposed to be true. If they don't, if both of the criteria are not true, or maybe if one of them is not true, VBA will execute the else line. Okay, so let us go and check that now. So I run this code now. One thing important, you see that I am using the 1, 2 and 3 as constant, because you know every time the comparison will happen with the same column, only the rows are moving, that is why. So let's start from the second 2 value. J is 2, look at this. So what is the value here? It's 44. It's greater than 30. What is the value here? It's ABC33. It is not blank. Both the criteria are matching, so we should go in the then mode. Yes. Now we should print in the same row but with the column 3 valid. Time to go to the next J. What is the next J, guys? Next J is obviously 3. So now you have 55. 55 is greater than 30. In the B3 we have a value which is not blank. Again you have valid. The next time when you run, your first criteria will be true, but this criteria will fail because you have a blank here. So let's see what will happen. Look at this. We are in the else mode. So what will happen now? In the same row number, which is 4, you will print invalid. So this is how your function will work. Done. If you have to use the OR, you just need to use here OR. Let me copy the code. What do you mean by the OR? OR means if you give 10 conditions, by the way, you can write here any n conditions. Suppose if you have one more criteria, again put one more and then write that condition there. So keep on adding there is no limit. So I copy this code here and I write here this is if OR. Now you see that if I run this with the if OR, so you have to write here OR first of all, and we will change the column number 4. Let's print the value in the D column this time. Rest comparison obviously will remain same. So you see now how it is going to work. I think in all the conditions you will find valid because even in this case, because 33 is greater than 30, so one condition meets, so every time it goes in the true criteria because we have got at least one value. And this is your if and. Now sometime what happens, for example, I'm using the same thing. I copy this, I go here, I write this number. Okay, now I write here 100, I write here 200, I write here 400. Now what is the criteria? I'm writing the question here, pay attention. So we will do the nested if in if. The criteria is, see this, if value is greater than 70, what you need to print? Excellent. Okay, let me put the comment here. If value is between 50 and 70, between means 50 and 70 also included, then print good. If value is between 20 or maybe 30 and or maybe I say 40, if the value is between 40 and 50, 40 and 49, because 50 is counted in the second criteria, then poor, then print needs improvement. Okay, and if value is less than 40, print guys poor. This is what we have to do now. Remember, you can't use the if and here. I know sometimes people say that let us use the if and. All the criteria cannot be true. If a number is greater than 70, it can never be between 50 and 70 and 40 and 49, right? So if and, forget about it. This is not how the if and will work, because if and needs all the criteria to be true. So you have actually all the different, these all the criteria are different. So maybe we will go and use the all the conditions separately. So let's talk about the first thing. Now, before I use the loop, let's forget about the loop. Let's go and target only on this cell, and we will go and write the answer here. Okay. So we will focus on the A2 value. So how we gonna write? We're gonna write if the range A2. You can also create a variable, guys. That's all up to you. I mean, you define some variable, then you can write that variable is greater than something, but I'm directly using the command. So I say that if A2 dot value, if it is greater than 70, what do you want to do? You want to simply say in the range B2 dot value print excellent, right? If it is not true, then what? Now I don't have here, just the one criteria left out, which I can go and put in the else mode. I have more things to check actually. If my question would have been like, there's that greater than 60 print excellent, else say that bad or average, then yes, then you could have written here this range B2 dot value equals to whatever. But we have to check further more condition. If this is going to fail, obviously it will go here, but here also you have one more criteria. So what you're gonna do, you're gonna use now else if, one more if. So I say else if check the same criteria. Now how will you check between 50 and 70? Obviously use the if and. For this particular second criteria, you will use the if and. You say that else if range A2 dot value is greater than equals to 50, and at the same time that value is less than equals to 70, then what you want to do? You know what we want to do. We want to copy this, we want to paste it here. I want to say that good. But what if this condition also fails? Yes, it can also happen. Then again, guys, else if. Now what do you want to do? Now I want to check between. Again between, so let's copy the entire code again. Let's not waste the time. Copy and paste here, and instead of this greater than 50, right here, guys, 40 and less than equals to 49. I'm putting the and, right? Both are supposed to be true, because that's the only way you can check the number is between 40 and 49. So here we write needs improvement, so I'll just write here ni. Now what is left? Now there is just one criteria left, so you can finally go and write that in the else mode, because you have checked all the things. So your program will go in the else mode only if the previous else if and the if, they are all going to fail, right? Because remember I said that only one criteria will be executed, so only one if will be executed. Now please make sure you put the end if. This is how it is. So let's go and start this. I think code is quite simple. Just keep on using the else if. Yes, but here you need to decide. You want to use if or if and if, which is very clear, by looking at the syntax. So I go and run this. So what is the first value? It is greater than 70? No. So it will go in the else if. Is it between 50 and 70? No. You see that it is again skipping. Now is it greater than 40 and less than 49? Yes. You see it come in the then mode, and finally printing, and after printing, look at this, it immediately goes to the end if. Done. You want to change the value? I want to change this 999. So run the code. Is it greater than 70? Yes. Put the excellent. After putting the excellent, go in the end if. Only one criteria will be executed. That is how it is. Now time to convert this into a loop. The entire thing, right? Because we want to go and run the loop. So I need this loop to run 9 times. So I can write here for my loop equals to I want to run it from 2, second row 2 to 9, right? As I said, you can also create this dynamic. You can capture the last row. Again I'm repeating, dot end excel up dot row. So this will stop, and then finally put the next if, next my loop. This is how it is. Let's give some indenting. Select the entire thing. You don't have to do for every line separately. Press tab now. Let's move it little inside the code. It's good to read. Otherwise, there's no problem. The code will run. But I try to make the code readable also for myself as well as for my readers. So now this loop will run, and you know what you need to do. Copy this. Just concatenate this with every range command, because this loop will keep on changing. So that's how we can do this. So I just go and control V it, control V, control V, control V, again control V, again control V. I think we are done except for this. Sorry. Yeah. And here also we need to change, So we will join this with the my loop, and here also we will join this with the loop. So we are done with this. I think the loop should work now. Let's go and run this. Variable not defined, dim my loop as maybe byte, because I know my data is very small. So there we go. So it has to go till 9, 2 to 9. So let's start. So you see range A2. So I'll quickly run this. It prints the excellent, exit from the if, go to the next my loop. Now my loop is 3. Comparison will happen with the 55 now, A3. It is greater than 70, no. And then finally you have the another if. Is it between 50 and 70? Yes. So we print good. Again you see end if. So guys, this is how your loop will run. And this is what we call the nested if. Okay, if in the if. You can write as many if as you want with the different criterias. This is how it is. Okay. Now I want to ask you that suppose I write here some numbers. Let me show you. So I have written here some numbers, okay? Now what you want to do, you want to print here, let's say Krishan, but with a condition, or maybe anything. Let's say print ABC in row number 5 if the value in the row 1 is greater than 5. Okay. So what I'm saying is you have to print here ABC if this number is greater than 5, and then same for this, same for this. So these are all the numbers, and if we don't have a value greater than 5, we would like to keep it as blank. So how will we do it? Now guys, first of all, because if you notice your comparison, the row number is not changing, it remains 1. If you want to check the value, what is the value in this column, in this column, in this column, and then basis that you want to go in the row number 5 with the different column. So basically we have to run this code how many times? We have to run this code 10 times because we have the 10 values here. Okay, now you can also use the you go to this side and you can use the control left arrow, and in the control left arrow this will take you to the last cell. So that way you can make your code dynamic also, just in case if you want to see if you want to make this code working in for the rest of the values also in future, if the value expands to column K, L, N, M, so on, right? So we will go and write this code. So I'll write here let's say exercise. So the first thing which I will do is I'll declare here a dim col as long, and for col equals to 1 to 10 I want to run this 10. You can also write range from xft 1 dot end xl to left, right? So this will take you to the left, and this time we need the column number, not the row number, right? So this should give you 10. So we will run this loop 10 times. Now what is the next thing we want to do? Well, the next thing we want to do that we should compare it. So what we want to compare, we want to say that in the cells the row number which is 1 and the column number obviously is going to be col, because column will keep on changing. So this col, I'm using this col here. Okay, now if you're thinking that why I'm not using range A1, you can't use the range A1, because if you use the range A1, how will you make this A change to B and C and D? You're moving this left to right. It's very difficult, right? So let's not even think about it. Let's simply write here cells. I will be on the row number 1 and I use the col and dot value. If that value is greater than 5, then what I want to do? Well, if that value is greater than 1, then 5, then I want to go in the same column number but with the row number 5, right? And I want to print what I want to print. I want to say that this should be equals to let's say ABC. This is what we wanted, right? And if it is not the case, if the value is not greater than that, then you can obviously write here else, and then you write in the same cell we want to print nothing. We want to just simply write the blank, and then finally please close your if function, end if like this, right? So now when we will start this the loop, so now I'm going to run this. You see yourself, so the column number 1 and this value is coming 10. So we are supposed to run this loop 10 times. Now I am on the column number 1 with the row number 1, so my value is going to be 1. This value, is it greater than 5? No. So we go in the row number 5 and the column number 1, which is A5, and we print the blank here, or maybe you can write something else as well, so nothing shows here. Great. Time to go for the next column. Next column is now 2. So in the column number 2, the row number 1, again I have 2 which is not greater than 5. Again you go here, and then finally I go here in the column number 3. In the column number 3 I have 3 which is again not greater than 5, so you have again blank. Now in this particular case again you have this 4 coming here. You go in the else mode, right? So guys, now when you have the column number 5 and the row number 1, which is E1, this should be 44 and this should be greater than 5. So you see that I finally printed ABC here. Why here? Because you said that the row number has to be 5. So you see 5 and 1 I'm not changing because they are constant, because we are working on the row number 1 for the comparison and on the row number 5 for the value. So this entire process, this is how it will run, and you will have everywhere ABC printed wherever we have the value greater than 5, and finally your code is done. This is how it is, right guys? So this was the last example. Now in the next session we're going to talk about the collection loops, and if you want to see more examples, definitely guys, you can go on my YouTube and you can check out the Excel VBA loops playlist. There are n number of examples there. Now since we have spent so many hours on this training, we have really seen how the loops work, how the if combination works. So we have done it so slowly, we went very gradual, and I hope now your concepts will be clear. So to do the practice, you can go and check out these all the different the videos on the loop under the playlist called Excel VBA loops. Okay, so thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next chapter, which is going to be on the collection loop.